Hey, bedheads. Good morning. Click. Drew, this is so adorable. And it's pink. I love it so much. Thank you for sending this to me. Anybody else have a mug that says good morning, bedheads? I love it. I couldn't quite record early this morning because they've been working on cutting down a tree that's right by our place. So it's been very loud. So it's only 11 a.m., but usually, I thought, well, I got to do something. So I don't exactly, maybe you can't tell, but I really don't have the traditional bedhead this morning. But maybe you do. So cheers. Click. Thanks a lot, Drew. It's so cute. Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about today. My plan is to have a few reminders real quick, and then we're going to look at Trump's natal chart today actually for this week, because I missed it on the 7th. The 7th, September 7th was a very strong date for his natal chart. So we're going to look at what does this week look like for him. Then we're going to compare it to what does it look like for our community. So our community's natal chart. So the Ask the Spirit Guide's natal chart. We're going to look at that and the suggestions from Spirit. I have 2 pendulum messages today, new ones. Okay, so I did have 6 for the month of September that I recorded a while ago, a week ago or so. Now I have 2 more that I asked them for today. Okay, so that's what they gave me. So then we're going to tie in those pendulum messages with the community natal chart to see how do they want us with the natal chart, like what could we be doing from a spiritual perspective with regards to what's going on politically, especially with Trump's natal chart. Okay, just seeing if we're going to do some like connection between the two. It's just kind of interesting. I find it interesting. Okay, and then I am going to record a quick video after this that I will post later tonight at 7 p.m. with just the pendulum messages for today and the 2 oracle decks they wanted me to use just to have a specific reading with the pendulum messages and the oracle. Okay? Okay, so I'm not going to do oracle basically at the end of this video. I will post that separate and do that tonight. But I am going to tell you what the pendulum messages are. Lucy just took off running down the hall. Okay, so real quick, just a reminder, if you missed the conversation that I had yesterday, I had 2 of them. Well, one was Coffee with Karen, and the other one was the SG. Asking questions regarding the funding of the federal government in the U.S. coming at the end of September, and how important it is that our representatives, all the representatives, push back at this time against authoritarianism. So I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't watched that, I didn't get as many views on that, and it's a little concerning because I don't know if it's because people are getting tired, but you guys, we can't get tired right now. This is not the time to get tired, okay? This is the time that we actually have to start revving back up again. I was even watching the Truth Alliance, Election Truth Alliance video yesterday. They only have like 29,000 subscribers. I'm like, what is happening here? And I think on that video I watched, it had been up for 2 days or something. It only had like 3,000 views. That's not good. That's not good. However, he did say, I will post that video below, so I'm hoping that more people will watch it. I was actually hoping the same thing would happen with Ezra's video that I referred to yesterday in Coffee with Karen. I will go ahead and post the Coffee with Karen right here at the end of this video, okay? The one that I posted yesterday, that if you missed that. I did realize from the Election Truth Alliance person who was speaking, I don't remember his name, that his videos are being suppressed, even on YouTube. That's a problem. That's a problem. I know that the person who writes the She Won articles, their TikTok account, no, was it TikTok? Oh, no, their X account had been deleted. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. So we have got to keep paying attention. You never know how much our videos are being suppressed because I talk about these things. Because I've been talking about Epstein. I've been talking about, just the fact that I just mentioned the Election Truth Alliance. Who knows? So, excuse me. We just have to really watch for that stuff. And with Election Truth Alliance, watch for their videos. Don't expect them to show up in your feed. If you like our videos, go look for them. Don't wait for them to show up in your feed. I post every single day. I saw a comment that somebody said, "Oh, I see you're back in my feed again." I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have left. But it just depends. If you're interested, you have to go looking for our videos because they're suppressing certain topics. And that's a problem. Whatever happened to free speech, right? So anywho, but my point of bringing this up again today is I want to make sure that everybody is aware that we all have a role to play right now by contacting our representatives daily until the end of the month with whatever you want to tell them. But in terms of authoritarianism, pushing back against the Trump family getting as rich as they are, because they should not be getting as rich as they are right now. They're doing a lot of illegal things that they shouldn't be doing. Not that the way they're getting rich is illegal, but the fact that they actually are able to get rich in the position that he's in is illegal. That's that's unconstitutional. The fact that there are masked people arresting people without warrants or identification. These are the things we need to be telling our representatives, that they should not be funding the federal government unless they have conditions. And the conditions are these things, whatever is important to you. Okay. Now I sent out an email this morning with my, from the video that I did yesterday. So I sent out an email, which I'm doing quite often now with things like reports, energy reports, what I talked about yesterday, and I added some different scripts that you could talk to your representatives if you want. There was a little bit of a script in that email. So if you haven't signed up for our email and you want the things that I'm talking about, but have the notes basically twice a week. I probably shouldn't send you more than twice a week. But if you do, just, take the notes of the things you want of what I'm talking about here and just, ignore the rest, because if I have, 3 really good note sessions that I have that I could send you notes, then I'll do that. So you can sign up for the email. The QR code's right here. Or it's in the description. Okay? Okay, so please be contacting. This is not a time to be sitting back. This is actually more important now than the last 9 months, in my opinion, because authoritarianism, again, I might get dinged just even for saying that. I have no idea, to be honest, but I'm going to keep talking and using the words because that's what it is. It is here. It is not now I wonder if it's happening. No, it is happening. And so we have got to get in front of this thing, and our representatives need the volume, the call volume, the email volume from us to know that we have their backs. Okay. I can't say 100% if it's going to work, but we got to try, right? We've got to try. Okay, the last thing I wanted to tell you is, sorry, I was so serious about that. That was very serious. It is some serious stuff, isn't it? And I just feel like, you know what? At least I can say that I did my very best to communicate what I understand to be true and encourage people to act on it. If people don't, I can't do anything about it. I actually videotaped myself on a video. I'll post it right here at the end of this video, calling Tammy Baldwin yesterday so you could hear exactly what I said to her. Okay. And then I filled out her form today, and Mark Pocan in Wisconsin, I filled out his form today because I'm in his district. So I'm going to do it every day. And I'm going to do it. My husband's going to do it every day. So we just have to get the volume. It's the call volume. It's how many, that's how much they track. That's what they're tracking, is how many calls they get. So it doesn't matter what you're saying. Just, you can say the same thing every day. It doesn't, just call them. Okay. Call them. All right. Unless you don't mind being, living in a country with an authoritarian leader. I kind of do. I kind of mind it personally. So this isn't blue. This isn't red or blue. This isn't right or left anymore. This is just, I don't care who you voted for. Well, I mean, of course I do, but if you voted, doesn't matter who you voted for at this point. It's, it's done. Whatever is done is done. And especially because people aren't paying attention to that Election Truth Alliance. Blows my mind. Okay, anyways, I think I feel pretty serious about that. All right, or strong anyways. We have a 30-day challenge coming up, and this is one of the journals. Ignore that stripe across there. Some of you participated in the last 30-day challenge. We've got journals for the upcoming 30-day challenge that is starting on October 1st. You'll also want to sign up for the newsletter because we're going to have it. It's going to be more active. Like, we're going to have more touch points this time. But I have 3 journals up right now in the shop with Halloween covers. You have 3 different choices for Halloween. We do have 3 fall choices, but we have a little snafu getting those up. So I can't say 100%. I just wanted to give people an opportunity to get ordering them if you wanted to. You don't have to use a journal. You can just use your own paper journal. You don't have to buy one of these. The nice thing is it's set up to talk to your spirit guides. Okay. So like you do a little journaling, and then every day for 30 days, you write a letter to your spirit guides, and the journal is set up to do that. So there's a little journaling, there's a couple pages of journaling, and then you write a letter to your spirit guides. This is very powerful, you guys. Very powerful. But you don't need to buy. I know people don't have some people don't have funds. You don't need to buy one of these. You can just use your own journal too. But I wanted people to know that I had 3 different Halloween versions up in the shop right now. So I was going to show them to you, but I didn't bring my phone over here. So I'm going to have hard copies in a day or 2, so I'll show you. But if you want to get ordering those, I'll put a link in the description. Okay? Okay, so 13 minutes. I guess I was really wanting to talk about this calling about what's going on with Trump. Okay, so are we ready for the energy report? Let's see what's going on in Trump's natal chart for this week. Okay. All right. Okay. And then, like I said, we're going to look at his energy forecast for this week, the 7th through the 13th. We're already a couple days in, but then we're going to look at our community forecast. Okay. But let me tell you what the pendulum messages were, because these pendulum messages will be wrapped into our community forecast. So for some guidance for us. Okay. So the first pendulum message was, just keep waiting. Just keep waiting. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about with pendulum, so I use a swinging pendulum with this pendulum map. That is, you can purchase this, purchase to this in our community business directory of our small businesses in our community. So there's always a link in the description for that. But so that's how I get the pendulum messages from the Lead Team Collective. Okay. So just keep waiting. When I asked, we know who this is referring to, I'm sure. When I asked, what are you referring to? They said Trump leaving. Okay. So just keep waiting. which is, that's a very positive thing. Like, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. He's still planning on leaving. Okay, all right. And then I thought this message was really interesting. Not the first part, but the second part. Okay. So the first part, the next message was, why are you disappointed? They have said this to us before. And I said, why shouldn't we be disappointed? Why shouldn't we be disappointed? And this is what I found interesting. Nobody loses. I love that. I love that. Nobody loses. So I just think that's so important for us to remember that we're all on our own soul contracts. Nobody's losing, even though some of this stuff, like I just spent 10 minutes talking about calling your representatives because of these things happening. But nobody's losing. And I think that's the spiritual part of it. It's so interesting to swing back and forth between the political part of things or life, so when you see hard things going on around you, and then the spiritual, isn't it? It's just so interesting. Like I literally just went, when I saw that again, nobody's losing. Nobody loses. That's the message, okay? So we just have to remember that. It's so hard to remember. Okay, so let's look at Trump's forecast and then our community forecast, and they'll tie in. Mabel is tying in the report I wrote with Mabel, which is AI. I call her Mabel. The reason I call her Mabel, I don't think I've ever told anybody, but my great grandmother's name was Mabel. And I didn't even really know her except through pictures, but I have some kind of connection with her. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's just her name but ever since I saw her picture for the first time, I feel an affinity to her. So anyway, anytime I get a chance to call something Mabel, I will do it. So this is a report that I have written. This is not dictated by AI. It is a report I wrote to have these specific things pulled out for us. Okay, I just want to make that clear because sometimes people think that AI is driving the train. It is not. Okay, so if you haven't used it, that's not how it works. Okay, well, that's not how it works for me. So, okay, so Trump's energy forecast for this week. All right, let's just look at a few things. So courtroom pressures intensify. So his natal sun Uranus aspects are being hit by outer planet tension, pointing to unexpected rulings or legal curveballs. Okay. Wah, wah, slap. I have a slap mug, you guys, in our shop, and so that's my thing when I feel like slapping Trump. Okay. Which I hope is coming soon. Marcia, did you order one for me? I can't wait to get it. Okay, likely outcomes is further erosion of immunity arguments. More damaging evidence surfacing in civil or criminal cases for him. Interesting. Scandal spotlights widen. So the Pluto and Mercury transits suggest, again, a part of his natal chart, suggests secrets in communication are tied to his past, i.e. Epstein, hush money, old letters could erupt again. I think I saw the Bulwark continuing to talk about that birthday card he sent to Epstein. So that's coming out again. So that's interesting. This week may bring leaks or media revelations that he cannot easily control. Okay. Military and law and order theater. Mars on his natal ascendant pushes him to act boldly, even recklessly. See, we have to remember there's more going on that, with the way the planets are lining up for him, that will encourage certain kind of behaviors, I suppose, right? It does for us too. It affects our energy, right? All of us individually, and collectively. Okay, so it's encouraging him to act boldly, even recklessly, deploying troops, threatening cities, or dramatizing strength. Okay, so we may continue to see that. Expect escalating enforcement actions framed as decisive leadership, but with high backlash risk. Okay, hopefully the backlash is there. Okay, public backlash peaks. Saturn squares his midheaven. I don't know what any of that means, but for those who are interested in that, I'll give you a little bit of that. Karmic accountability in the public arena. So that's slap. I don't know why I go slap. Just feels like before I do slap, I should do something. Okay, large protests or high visibility opposition to his actions. Chicago immigration raids gain momentum. Okay, that's a possibility because of how things are aligning for him. Okay, money and markets entangled. Jupiter transiting his natal second house highlights financial matters. Court orders payouts. Carroll judgment. So Eugene Carroll's judgment. Tariff refunds. Oh, we'd like a little refunds, wouldn't we? Could collide with his business empire, spotlighting fragility behind his wealth image. Okay. Family inner circle fractures, Neptune agitation around his fourth house, disillusionment with allies or family drama spilling public. This could show up as leaks from insiders or strained appearances with his children. I take the leaks with from insiders. That'd be amazing. Media obsession, Mercury activation triggers compulsive posting. So we might be seeing more posting from him. Interviews or surprise appearances, like the rumored Yankee game on 9/11. I guess he's rumored. I was not happy when he showed up to the U.S. Open. And in fact, I didn't watch. Out of protest. I watched the entire U.S. Open tennis tournament out of protest. Okay, in all fairness, I was in the car half the time driving home from my mother-in-law's funeral. But when I got home, I would not watch the U.S. Open because he was there. I'm like, no, I'm protesting. I'm not giving it airtime. You know what I mean? So it was fine. I wasn't that excited about So I'm kind of still the Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Andy Murray, and Nadal. Those are kind of, I don't know. I really loved that era of tennis. And I actually went to the US Open and saw I think Roger played Nadal. Roger. So, anyways, I haven't quite gotten into the men's tennis since Novak lost in the semifinal too. So, anywho, yeah, so he showed up. Isn't it interesting? Like, why is he showing up to these things? So now he's going to show up to the Yankees game on 9/11. Ugh. Anyways, slap. He may seek distraction in spectacle, but it risks amplifying criticism instead of diffusing it. Okay. Health and vitality warning. Mars and Pluto stress on his chart shows burnout signs, irritability, rash decisions, possible physical strain. Could manifest as visible exhaustion or a health rumor resurfacing. We went through that a week or two ago, But that was a lot, that health rumor thing, I don't know, was that just distraction? I'm not sure. Okay, well, let's look at our community forecast, okay, for this week, okay? So our chart as a community, again, I have the exact day that the first video that I recorded, the time, the date, okay, the place, okay? So I do have a natal chart just for our community. So our chart shows Saturn and Neptune retrogrades activating the third house, okay? Whatever. I don't know I'm not an astrologer, so I don't know what that means, but that's okay. Speech, media, and messaging. So Trump's chart is under intense public legal stress. So for us, the guidance is don't jump into the noise. Okay. So don't jump into the noise. That is basically one of the very close to a pendulum message that we got for the month of September. Okay. So the one of the pendulum messages, though, just keep waiting, which is what we talked about earlier, for Trump to leave. The lesson here for us is endurance, not instant justice. I mean, this is a marathon, right? This is a marathon. So we have the endurance. We just have to keep going. We have to keep going. And that's why I'm trying to encourage people to make phone calls and ask, be communicated. When I sent my newsletter out this morning, I said, if there's anybody that you think would be they would like to hear what I said in the newsletter, forward it to them. We just need to keep the ball rolling. Okay. So why, for us as a community, why disappointment isn't necessary? Again, that was a pendulum message from the lead team, from our spirit guides today, is why are you disappointed? Okay. So why disappointment isn't necessary for us right now is Pluto is stirring our 2nd and 8th houses, which is values plus transformation. Okay. This asks us to shift from wanting the big win now, and we feel like we've been waiting for it for a while, don't we? To recognizing that deeper systemic changes take time. And that's another thing we've been talking about for the last 8 months is, yes, we need to allow enough destruction, in quotes, and before enough has been kind of enough of the cracks have shown for us to then, for the universe to then say, okay, enough is enough. We've cracked enough. Now it's time for Trump to leave. But in the meantime, we've got to keep, let's not sit in disappointment. Let's not get discouraged. Let's not give up hope. Let's keep with the calls, the letters, the whatever actions you can take. Okay. So the pendulum message, why are you disappointed? Nobody loses. For the community, this means what looks like delay is actually preparation. So think about it that way. What looks like delay, because it's been like 9 months and it does feel like, is this seriously ever going to happen? Like, are we going to continue? Now, I have asked the SGs specifically on the dowsing rods recently, and I can ask them today, but are we going to be living with him for another 3.5 years? And they said no. And then I asked, are we going to be living with JD Vance for the next 3.5 years? And they said no. So we are in for some big changes, I think, coming up. At least that's what they keep telling us. Okay. All right. How to deal with Trump's chaos right now for our community. His Mars-driven theatrics, troop deployments, courtroom tantrums. I love Mabel. Are meant to provoke. Okay, so meant to provoke and to just keep us tired, Our chart shows Jupiter in Cancer aligning with our Mercury in Scorpio. So for those who are interested in that, the better path is truth-telling with compassion, not matching aggression with aggression. Okay, so I think the best way for us, that's why I like to do this balance, like this is what we're seeing, but this is how we can stay in the spiritual perspective about it, which is why I love Nobody Loses. It just really helps. It helps me to keep centered and just keep grounded. And so hopefully it does for you too. Okay. Holding the line in public energy, Trump's scandals are peaking. Our 10th house is lit up by the Virgo new moon energy from last month. So still last month, August, reminding us we don't need to prove anything. Simply staying steady models what integrity looks like. Isn't that cool? Simply staying steady. So that's our astrology. If we can simply stay steady, stay grounded, it models what integrity looks like. We don't want to lose our own integrity while he's having his temper tantrums. I don't want to have my, because, I could have my own temper tantrums, right? And so as we're seeing him do that publicly, we want to try to just stay as steady as possible, okay? Because that's the energy, right? We want to keep our energy as steady as possible. Emotional anchoring. So Venus in Cancer in our 7th house is relationships and community bonds, our protection. As Trump lashes out, our collective assignment is to nurture each other. Joy, laughter, shared practices, rather than spiraling into fear, which is why I think in this, if you're leaving comments, it's best to anywhere online, not just here in this community, but try to leave messages of hope, messages of encouragement, messages of, so for people who are feeling depressed right now or are feeling hopeless, leave those messages rather than fear, driven messages like, oh, it's hopeless or it's never going to happen or anything like that. If you feel like leaving those, then maybe don't leave anything at all so that you're not contributing to that. Okay. So love wins. We got to cover the love wins stuff. The protests and resistant movements rising against Trump mirror our own community's inner child healing work, which is, oh no, okay. I thought the SGs pulled the inner child deck today, but they didn't. It was the letting go deck, which I'm going to use in the next video, you guys, for tonight. Okay. So let's see. Both are saying no more domination. Okay. So the protests and our community's inner child healing work, which is part of our astrology right now. And we've talked about doing, it's the shadow work, right? Continuing to do our own shadow work. We can continue to do our own shadow work with the challenge coming up on October 1st. Just developing that deeper relationship with our guides and asking for their help in, help me with my inner child work, with my shadow work. So that the more we work on ourselves, the more that energy goes out into the world. And those who struggle, like Trump, with his shadow work, because he likely hasn't done too much of that, or hasn't, been made to, that the more we do that, the more our energy will shine to those who haven't done. You know what I mean? Like it's just keep it internal, keep it inside yourself, keep working on yourself, keep your perspective around you so that you can give off the right energy going out into the world so that other people, when they pick up on that energy, because they will, just like they'll pick up on love versus fear, right? So it amplifies, it amplifies the frequency around you. And then those around you, however they're dealing with the energy, will amplify around them and so on, kind of ripples out. So by embodying truth and joy, we amplify the frequency. So basically what I was just talking about in a sort of kind of way. We amplify the frequency that ensures nobody loses in the long run. Okay. So crystals for today, if you wanted to pull out a few crystals, excuse me, crystal allies for the week that we could use is lepidolite. Is that how you pronounce it? Lepidolite is how my pronunciation is. For calming disappointment and easing anxious waiting. Okay. Because I have to say, like, there was a part this week earlier, like even just yesterday, where I felt like, why are things so calm? Like, I was thinking with the September 7th and what's happening in his chart, that stuff would start to really unravel. And I just feel like in the last 2 days, like it's a little too calm. Like, I don't know. So I did start to feel like, okay, are people just settling into this whole thing? And now this is just what life is going to be like. So calming my disappointment, right? And easing anxious waiting, because we just continue to wait, right? And citrine. So citrine would be another one to hold optimism and remind us of long-term victory energy. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that's helpful. I hope you found that interesting. If you did, could you let me know? Because I'm trying out different reports and how we bring them together, things people are concerned about, but also how do we bring that back to a spiritual perspective. So let me know if this kind of report was interesting to you in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And I will see you tonight for the pendulum messages. I'll repeat the pendulum messages, but we'll do oracle cards. Okay? All right. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.